Thank you very much, Leader of Majority in the National Assembly, for making time for us. It has been a very eventful year, especially politically, landscape, from the general elections to it being annulled, the presidential one that is, and then to another one, and many other developments. How would you describe 2017?
For the political class, 2017 was a very difficult year. A year where we had a general election. So campaigns, general election, repeat elections, and of course there was a lot of fatigue. So I can say the whole year was a year of campaign and elections. But we are lucky that now is behind us. The people of Kenya, in their wisdom, have elected leaders in various positions. And I'm sure as we go to the new year, they must be ready to work for the people in their various capacities.
As Leader of Majority in the National Assembly and, you know, a significant part of the country questioning this government, the legitimacy of it because of the turnout we saw in the repeat election and what we keep hearing about Raila swearing himself in, what do you say to that the divisions continue to be so deeply entrenched in this country?
In every election, since the advent of multi-party politics, elections have been one of the main dividing factor of the Kenyan society.
Right.
And not only in Kenya, even in everywhere, even in the US. The last general election in the US between the current President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton has divided the American society. So elections world over divide communities and divide citizens. And it leaves very strong emotions, particularly the first months after an election. But for our experience, I think once the election is over, those who are given the opportunity to serve the next 5 years, whether you are a president, whether you are a governor or a senator or a member of parliament, it is upon that person and that government to make sure that they serve all the citizens equally and make sure that they have a responsibility to heal the nation back. So I think that is a function that those of us who work with President Uhuru Kenyatta are going to do in the next 1 year.
Yeah, you're talking about the next 1 year, but you had the whole term and it was still a challenge at the time. So isn't it a failure on your part, President Uhuru Kenyatta's government and leadership in the past 4.5, now 5 years, uniting this country so that, yes, we've had another election, yes, it has brought out those divisions more, but they were not healed, or, you know, the feeling of exclusion continues to be there. So what is this magical, one would ask,
we are the only coalition in 2013 that brought the people of Kenya together under one political party. Today, our party has 100, the single largest number of elected leaders in the country from across the region. There is no constituency, no county we don't have a member of parliament or an MCA or a governor or a senator. How have we done that? We left our own parties in the quest for creating a unified, because what divides the people of Kenya is the various political parties, which have both ethnic and regional inclination. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy went out of their way, and they said, let us forget about TNA, let's forget about URP, all these 14 parties. Let's have one party which each and every Kenyan will say, this is a party that unites the people of Kenya.
And yet the divisions continue.
And today, let me tell you, there's no division. Today,
really? Kenya is one solid, united country.
One solid. Today, we have 170 plus members of parliament across all. That is a unitary political party. Secondly, in the last 5 years, in terms of equity and resource distribution, starting with the devolved funds, each and every village in our country has felt the infrastructure development that is taking place in our country. Areas like in North, which has never seen a tarmac road, today have witnessed serious infrastructure development. Areas which have never seen electricity are now seeing the expansion of the national grid. Areas which have never seen a university in the north today have got their own university funded by government. So the reconciliation and the unity is not only in government, it's upon all Kenyans, despite our political affiliation. But I can tell you today, I am a very proud member of the Jubilee Party because I belong to a party that has a national face compared to Wiper, compared to ODM, compared to ANC. They are regional parties, but Jubilee is a party. And that's why we are saying it's not only Jubilee leaders who will do that. We even challenge our competitors that let us create two formidable national parties, like in the US, in Germany, and France. Yeah.
So what do you tell, for example, Raila's supporters who do not feel part of, do not feel included? Because as leader of majority, you're saying the country is okay, the state of the nation is strong. There are those who do not agree with that sentiment. So what do you tell them?
In every election world over, there are winners and there are losers. There is no election that happens in the world where everybody is a winner. Even in my own constituency, I competed against 4 other candidates, and I won that seat. So it is the winner who now becomes magnanimous, is the winner that now will take charge in bringing people together.
So let's talk about...
In the redistribution of the national cake among all people. And I am sure when President Uhuru Kenyatta forms his next government, maybe early January, that government will be constituted as per the Constitution. It must have regional balance, it must have ethnic balance, it must have all the shades of life and gender balance.
You've talked about...
That's it. So if you look at the government, a government must have the face of Kenya. So it is not that because people who lost in election are not in that government, what constitutes, what is the parameter that you use for an all-inclusive government? The parameter that is used for forming an all-inclusive government is found in the Constitution. What
about the calls for dialogue, especially between the President and Raila Odinga?
I think there's nothing special between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. There must be dialogue between the people of Kenya.
How does that happen?
And that happens within the institutions which are created by the Constitution. Institutions like Parliament, institutions like government, the President, in his daily duty, must meet all Kenyans, including the opposition, members of Parliament. Parliament must look at the law and to make sure in the budget allocation, they must make sure that that budget reflects the face of Kenya.
Right.
So the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and I really want, I've said it many times, have created solutions to the challenges and the problems the people of Kenya face. Only that people don't want to use the Constitution in solving the many socio-economic, political problems we face.
But is there a conversation within the Jubilee Party around amendments to this Constitution? Coming around 7th year since it was promulgated, and many have proposed several changes. Is there a sense and a feeling that there are areas of this Constitution that should?
No, I think the legislature has a function of legislating as per their mandate in Article 94. So, and every day, Parliament deals with amendments. It faces with new laws, amendments, repealing of laws. And I'm sure as we go ahead in these 5 years, not only the laws that concern the political class, we will look at economics, we'll look at the finance bill, we'll look at the environmental laws. So Parliament has an opportunity to look at that. But I think being a member of Parliament who participated in the constitution-making process, the people of Kenya must give chance and more time for us to nurture this constitution.
So it's not your time?
It's not a time.
It's not your time. All right. Let's talk about the Parliament. You have been leader of majority, the National Assembly, for the first term, and now to another. And a lot of criticism has come out in as far as the acrimonious nature some of the debates have degenerated, the divisions within the House. Do you think you executed your duties the best way possible, or do you think you are that polarizing figure that entrenched these issues even further?
I think, did I perform my work? I think that is for the people of Kenya and my colleagues in Parliament and the staff of Parliament.
How do you think you performed?
If you ask me, as the leader of government business, more than any other parliament in the history of Kenya, the last parliament has passed 185 pieces of legislation. Never in the history of Kenya. Even when Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka was the leader of government business, even when Amos Kimunya was the leader of government business, when Saitoti was the...
And some would say it's because of bulldozing around
let me finish.
Significance of the numbers you have.
Let me finish. In 2002, when NAC came to power, they had super numbers, tyranny of numbers. In the 10th parliament, which I served, there were no opposition to the grand coalition government. So everybody who was in parliament was government. So that in fact should have given government to have passed more bills. So the 11th parliament legislated 185, of which 151 were government bills that had my signature. For the first time under the new constitution, many, many people passed through parliament, including the current Chief Justice, including the current ministers and holders of constitutional office. So from where I sit, it's because of the teamwork. Myself, the Speaker, my colleagues, members of Parliament, chairs of committees, the clerk's office, the staff, all of us together. I think the 11th Parliament did an excellent job.
Yeah.
We expect this Parliament, the 12th Parliament, where again I'm the leader of majority, courtesy of my party, to do more. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing for the people of Kenya is that Parliament must legislate.
Yeah.
Were there low moments? Yes, in every Parliament.
Which one was the lowest?
The lowest moment in my period is when the security laws, where members threw out the decorum and the respect, where the deputy speaker was splashed with water, and I think that was the lowest moment. But having studied parliamentary practice myself, there are other crazy scenarios that happen in more other developed democracies. Did I use the numbers to the advantage of the ruling coalition? That is a function of the office of the leader of majority. Parliament is the house of politics.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Last night, the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives, the Republicans used their numerical strength in dealing with the tax reform bill by President Trump.
Yes.
So it's not only in Kenya. Where you have the numbers, you use it for the betterment of that.
It's an extension of the executive.
But at the end of the day, the opposition is supposed to oversight as an opposition. The government members of parliament are supposed, first and foremost, to support the executive, the ruling coalition position in the House.
Yes, but when the opposition, in holding to account the government, their efforts sometimes have been frustrated, leading to walkouts, so that there are those who would argue Parliament has exacerbated the question and issue of divisions in the country by not playing that role of, standing together, having meaningful debate. It has all degenerated to numbers and pushing an agenda, not having all voices.
I think there's debate in the House.
Yeah.
And it is the people of Kenya who can judge that.
Yes.
And number two, Parliament, unlike in the previous, has a specific role on budget-making process, where members of Parliament can alter the budget presented to the House by the executive. Members of Parliament, again, have a role in their respective departmental committees to oversight their specific sector and departments in government. The opposition have another specific role as the chairs and the vice chairs of the Public Accounts and Public Investments Committee. So working out is not a function of the opposition. That is a very weak opposition. Opposition members of parliament must, in the committees and in the plenary, they must make sure they have the numbers is the opposition in Kenya is very critical. 125 members, 129 members in last parliament. So they have a role to play. Oppositions must not, play like the crybaby. Walking out of the house is not a solution. But it happens even in other democracies. The Democrats walked out of the House of Representatives 2 nights ago. And the debate on the reform bill in the US went through. So I think, in my honest opinion, is that the opposition have a role to play in the House and outside the House. The government, members of parliament, have a role to play. They have a role to support the government of the day and its agenda. That is for the interest of the people of Kenya.
Yeah. In the recent past, the opposition members saying they will not be involved in some of the business of parliament. It's just now we've gotten leadership from their side. How has it affected business in parliament? And also looking at the committee on appointments and opposition saying they will not be part of that. Is that legislation or other work that will still be able to continue without that participation?
Parliament works in accordance with the Constitution and standing orders. And parliamentary committees work in terms of quorum. So once a quorum is attained, whether one side of the House is there or not, that committee will have the function to do its work. So the Committee of Appointment now has 17 members from the Jubilee. The quorum is 9. So we are waiting for any time when the president sends names, either to his cabinet or to independent office holders.
Right.
But one of the main challenge we faced in last parliament, and we are going to face in this parliament, is that the top leadership of the opposition are not in the House. And this is a mistake we made when we were crafting our new constitution,
right,
2010. So there is a serious leadership crisis in the opposition in the House.
So that they should have be able to run and still have a parliamentary position as before.
It's a different when the leader of the opposition is a member of parliament, is within the House. Decisions can be made very fast, coordination can be done very well. But when the leadership of the opposition are outside the House, then their membership, their rank and members in the House are disjointed in terms of decision making. Yeah. So they have to consult before they take a position on any bill. Yes. And that's why you see very unfortunate walkouts, because they are told if the debate is continuing, you people walk out. Yes. So there is a very indecisiveness on the part of those who are given the role to lead. Okay. But I think moving forward, I think the leadership of the opposition or political parties, in my opinion, should have ideally been in the House. Yeah. And you've talked about being able to cover a lot of ground in as far as legislation is concerned. But one significant area so far you have been unable to legislate on is not more than 2/3 gender rule. Yes. That, Parliament has gone through Parliament, even the judiciary. I understand there's actually a matter before the High Court on the same. So what is the challenge with getting a mechanism to implement this? The challenge, I think, is the Kenyan society. And the Kenyan society have not yet accepted their role, the constructive role women can play in our leadership positions. I'm one person who believes that the more women leaders we have in our country, the more our country can develop. Yeah. But the biggest setback to all the bills that I've introduced to the House, supported by the political leaders of the parties in Parliament, both the opposition and government, is the male members of Parliament, who either deliberately do not give me the required 2/3 numbers to pass the bill, or kill the bill at the first or second stage. But now we have a new Parliament. We have a new members. About 65 or 66% of the old members have gone home. There's a new leadership. There are more women leaders now from their constituencies. Come January, I want to introduce the bill, and I am sure between January and 2018 and August 2022,
yeah,
we will pass that bill.
yeah, because there are those who feel other matters it's very easy to whip members together. How is the leader of majority on this one?
Yes,
not being able to crack the whip.
Yes, it's not about cracking the whip. My party leader, the president, has come out strongly.
Yeah.
Honorable Raila Odinga has come out strongly. But at times...
But individual members, you say?
But individual members of parliament, and most of the male members of parliament, do not want to see these constitutional provisions achieved.
Yes.
And the House, and like any other House, like any other parliament, works through the provision of standing orders. At the end of every debate, a question must be put.
Yeah.
So if I don't get the required number to support that piece of legislation, then it will flop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's continue reflecting on what has been your role and some of what we've witnessed in the recent past. As leader of majority, you have been seen to threaten, intimidate officials from other arms of government. And that has been concerning to hear the leader of majority say,
like which one?
Justice Odinga, I warn you. I'm telling you this. Those were the words you were using. You know that this and this is going to happen.
No, I think
the manner in which the leader of majority should speak?
No, I think each and every person or leader in our country and who occupies a public office must be ready to be critiqued. He must have a thick skin for criticism, whether it is the leader of majority, whether it is the president, whether it is the Chief Justice.
Can't that criticism be constructive? The issue is the manner in which...
Office. Number two, any public office under the Constitution can be discussed in Parliament, either based on his or her conduct or on the discharge of the duties of that office. I'll give you a good example. There are over 2,000 judicial officers who were discussed in the House of Congress, the U.S. Senate, since 1900.
Yeah.
So the way the leader of majority is discussed and criticized by many, including the media, any state or public officer in our country, as provided for in our Constitution, must be ready to be critiqued. And that's why I'm saying I have nothing against Judge Odinga or anybody else.
Do you think the fashion and the manner, the manner in which you did it, it's not a question of whether to be discussed or not. If a judge is to be removed...
The manner which I did was I addressed a press conference.
And you threatened.
So what else? I said I am going to discuss the conduct of so-and-so.
And you told him to stand warned.
No, in a press conference I said I'm going to discuss.
And yeah, you saw...
And as a member of parliament... So
you have no regrets about how you spoke?
As a member of parliament, I have that role.
Yes.
And you will be shocked. In fact, it is the office of the leader of majority that at times, my role as a leader of government business, at times does not allow me to bring individual private members' motion and bills. But I wish I was an ordinary member of parliament.
Yeah.
I wish. I could have even discussed the media houses in this country. I could have discussed, if at all I feel there's something wrong with that. So every public or state officer must have a very thick skin, including members of parliament.
But because there is a clear procedure and process of having a judge removed or their conduct investigated through the JSC, that's the employer, why not go through proper channels as opposed to with the office you hold?
You are wrong. A member of parliament under the Constitution has the powers through a motion approved by the Speaker to discuss any State.
I'm talking about
State.
removal of office, not discussion.
No.
Does that discussion lead to them being fired?
Yes, that discussion. Once the House approved that motion, then Judicial Service Commission, Public Service Commission, other commissions will pick.
So it still goes back to that process?
Yes. So he is allowed. The question is, does he have the powers? Does the Constitution give him the leeway? A member of Parliament under the Constitution, under the standing orders, has the leeway to bring and discuss, to bring a substantive motion to discuss any state officer, including the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President, cabinet officers, holders of constitutional offices, can be discussed and they can be impeached.
All right,
So unless you are denying me as a member of Parliament for Garissa Township that power.
All right, let's continue looking back at your time so far as a leader of majority. And one of the moments you came under a lot of fire was when you indicated you'd release a list. Talking about the financiers and who this Al-Shabaab are. And then you went back on that, and the issue was, many questions were raised around it. To date, what happened?
Well, to date, I can tell you, I'm happy to report that since then, Northeastern today is the most peaceful region in the country from the threat of Al-Shabaab. I spoke on behalf of the leadership of Northeastern then.
Do you regret making those statements?
And we gave proposals. We gave proposals to government then on how to deal with the menace of Al-Shabaab. I am happy to report that the President accepted our proposal. And today, we, the leadership, those of us who were there then and those who are here now, we're happy to report that our policies worked, our people worked with the security agents. Today, Northeastern Province, since the terror attack of Garissa University, is very, very peaceful. We have no terror attack, and that is why we are leaders.
All right. The question also arises around, we're coming to a new year, the government is going to be formed. What is Jubilee's agenda? What is that legislative agenda you're looking to especially with the president in his inaugural speech talking about the big four and the areas of focus? What are you seeing as your role and the priorities you have in this?
Number one, our business as Jubilee is to implement and provide the legislative framework for the four big pillars, the president: universal health care, the housing, the manufacturing sector. So beginning January, we will have the first supplementary estimate in which we want to realign the budget towards the four big president's key pillars. So once we do the budget, then the subsequent budgets will be aligned towards those specific areas, which he wants them to be his legacy. Number two, for him to achieve that, even universal health care, manufacturing, there are certain amendments to the current existing laws. So we expect the president, through the cabinet, to provide to Parliament all the proposed amendments that will give support needed in terms of the law to the big four pillars of his economic transformation.
Right.
Yes.
What has been your highlight 2017?
My highest. I'm happy for the third time the people of Garissa Township have elected me with a very, very big margin. In 2007, I won by 4,500. In 2013, I won by 5,000. And in 2017, I won by 8,000 votes. And across communities and across voters, they have given me confidence to serve them another 5 years. That is my highlight. I think the other highlight was that we campaigned very vigorously as a party, and we sold our agenda. And unlike 2013, the ICC was behind us. We had a fact sheet to give to the people of Kenya what we did in healthcare, what we did in connectivity to electricity, over 3 million people, the roads we have constructed, the economy growing to 5.5%. So we are a scorecard for the people of Kenya.
All right.
And they have listened to us. And they have listened to us, and they have given us another mandate.
Yes.
With over 170 members of parliament today, with the single largest political party. Even ANC doesn't have that numbers in their parliament. So we are the single largest political party in Africa.
Okay. What do you regret for the past year? What is the one action or inaction that you regret?
That I did myself?
That you should have done better, or you shouldn't have, or said something, or anything?
I think one thing that I regret is many killings that took place either in the north or in Kenya or inside Somalia, perpetuated by the Al-Shabaab. You know, the El Ade massacre and many, many others. That is one incident that I said I wish a day will come when all forms of terror will be eradicated, not only in Kenya, but in the region, that I see a stable Somalia, a stable South Sudan, because unless those countries are stable, Kenya will never be stable.
Yeah.
Yes.
At an individual level, a failure, a shortcoming, none?
No, there's nobody who doesn't have a shortcoming.
Exactly.
I think I could have done better as a member of parliament on a number of cases where maybe because of lack of resources, many of students from my constituency could not go to colleges and universities that they were called to. That the resources, the CDF that I had and the other resources that I had, I could not satisfy the needs of my community.
Yeah.
And I hope, because education has been the key pillar in my constituency, that with the university now in place, Garissa University now in place, we will have more students going to Garissa University than getting out of Garissa.
Yeah. Aspirations, you're going to be leader of majority for this 12th parliament. But what does the future, the political future of Duale look like? I think what do you want to do after this?
I think 2022, I will might shift from the legislature to the executive. I think I have served my people for 15 years, and I'll go back to them early next year and see whether they can give me somebody else to coach the next 5 years.
Wow.
Because I don't want to serve as I think I have served as the leader of majority. I'll be serving as the leader of majority for 10 years by 2022.
Right.
I think I don't want to serve more than that.
So the executive, which position?
Anyway, that my first role is to make sure that my good friend and political mentor, Honorable William Ruto, goes to State House. So once he goes to State House, I am ready even to be his personal assistant.
Okay.
Staying in the State House.
Okay.
But my conviction and my objective these 5 years is to work with the President Uhuru Kenyatta to fulfill his legacy projects and to support him in managing the succession politics of Jubilee and give an opportunity to the Deputy President to become the next President of the Republic of Kenya. That will be my single duty. All right. Coming five years.
Before we wrap up, a message to Raila Odinga, what is it from you in terms of this swearing in that's still in the works and the plans?
No, I think Honorable Raila Odinga, I had the opportunity to work with him. He inducted me into politics in 2007, joined his party, and gave me senior positions in government. So I'm indebted to him as an individual. And I have a lot of respect to him as one of the top leaders in our country. My advice to him is that you have a rich legacy to protect. I think going out to be sworn in outside the Constitution is going to erode your legacy. You have been known for fighting for reform and constitutionalism in our country. You have a name in the international community. You have nurtured so many politicians, including myself. You can still serve as an elder citizen in many capacities. Do not allow individuals around you to kill your legacy. Mm-hmm. We want you to protect your legacy. We want our children and our children's children to read your history and to read your legacy.
If he does not heed to that advice, what happens if he swears himself in? Does he get arrested? As we have had some.
I don't think so. The best they will do is that they will swear the Honorable Raila Odinga as the people's president. Mm-hmm. And that is not provided for in the Constitution. So in fact, I want to give an advice to my colleagues in Jubilee. You should not be very much concerned about the swearing in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they do it, let them do it. Police will not try to...
But they're not swearing in him as the president of Kenya.
Yeah.
Because for you to be sworn in as the president of Kenya, the Chief Justice must make sure that and must be present for the oath taking. The instruments of power must be handed over. So from where I sit is just the way you can. There are many presidents. I mean, there is a president of the Rotary Club. There is a president of Aga Khan Foundation. So
what if they swear him in as the president of Kenya? What if that is what they'll reference?
No, I don't think so.
If it happens?
No, I don't think so, because...
But if it happens?
The Constitution has provided the format in which an MCA is sworn in.
Right.
A member of parliament, a governor, and a president. So if you are sworn in outside the framework provided for in the Constitution, then you have no local standard. And that's why I say, I don't care whether Raila Odinga is sworn in 10 times as the people's president.
Because it's a matter the Attorney General himself has addressed the matter and talked about high treason.
Yes, in as far as swearing in somebody as the president of the Republic of Kenya.
Yeah.
From what I hear, they want to swear Honorable Raila Odinga as the People's Assembly.
Okay.
And from what I have said in Parliament in the last 1 month, his troops, his members, have taken their role, official role, as the opposition. So there's no way, there's a contradiction. There's no way you can appoint the leader of minority in the House and the minority whip, and you become chair of public accounts and public investment.
Yes.
And you have accepted to be the opposition in the House and outside the House for the next 5 years, and then outside you're talking about swearing in your party leader. I mean, it's full of contradiction. You can't have the cake and eat it. You are either saying, no, we don't recognize Uhuru Kenyatta and we are going to be president. And then you don't take your positions in parliament as the opposition watchdog.
Yeah.
So why is Badi the leader of minority? Because he has accepted to be the leader of minority of the opposition in the House for the next 5 years. Okay. So of today, there is government and there's opposition.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Many thanks. Thank you so much for making time for us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And welcome to my house.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much for having us.